Knudsen?
What's going on, sir?
This is Two Guys Talking Golf.
Yep. It is it's St. Patrick's edition. St. Patrick's Day edition.
It is. I see you're not wearing very much green, and I'm dressed about as festive as it gets.
Yeah, I kind of didn't. I to be honest with you, I got up super early to record my show because I didn't do it the night before. And I was up early. I was up at like 5:45 and just threw on.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because it was like dark. I just threw on whatever clothes were kind of clean, and here I am.
You thought it was green?
No, I just threw on any clothes that I thought were kind of clean. I was like, here I go. So,
well, I got the green memorial,
the memorial
shirt on. Shout out Jack Nicklaus. And then I got the more of an army green Brooklyn Brewery hat. So it's like,
ooh,
it's super St. Patty's Day. You know what I'm saying? Like the green brewery hat hits super hard.
I mean, when I think St. Patrick's Day, I typically think brewery and Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Brooklyn Brewery to be exact.
Green beer.
That's right.
That's what it's all about. Green beer today. I have not drank any green beer yet, so we're going sober.
Neither have I.
On this podcast.
I didn't either. I was working, and then I started watching a little basketball. But I did have a little Buffalo Wild Wings just before we hit record here. I was watching a little North Carolina Marquette, and had to eat some chicken wings.
Unfortunately, I might be boycotting the rest of March Madness this year since Rutgers lost their first 4 game. Heartbreaker too,
dude,
double OT. Man.
Yeah, double OT to Notre Dame. That's things. I saw that today, and I was pretty bummed as well.
Yeah, I saw it too. I was watching last night. It was very heartbreaking.
I mean, you and I both. I mean, you went to Rutgers, and you root for
yep.
Big Ten team Rutgers. My wife went to Michigan State.
I do.
I was a weekend student, so I root for. I mean, we both root for Big Ten teams. But in the tournament, like I pretty much root for Big Ten teams. Like I want the Big Ten to do well. So I was.
Wait, I thought
Rutgers.
I thought you went to Michigan State. Where'd you go?
Only on the weekends.
That's what the students there go too.
Yeah,
they
pretty
only
much.
Go to the school only on the weekends.
Oof, it was I would have never made it out alive had I been there full time. So
okay, so this is a golf podcast. We do have a bunch of topics today. It's Valspar week. I was live in Tampa. But the biggest news was outside of the Valspar, wasn't it?
Yes,
we gotta get into it, don't we? This is Two Guys Talking Golf, and it's the most prevalent golf topic right now, so let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Greg Norman with LIV Golf, LIV Golf Investments, the Saudi-backed startup league, he's calling it. So we didn't know if this was actually going to happen. We didn't know if he was making threats. We didn't know if he was trying to just cause a stir or what's really going on. Apparently, it's finalized. They officially announced 8 events, $255 million in total purses.
It's a lot of money.
So here's how it's going to go. Let me just read it real quick. The first 7 events will have a total purse of $25 million. Just to put a little reference on that, the Players' Championship has 20 mil in total purse.
Yeah, and the Players had how many more athletes in it? I mean,
so yeah,
a lot.
So each event's going to have 25 mil, 5 million, 20 million of individual prizes, 5 million distributed to the top 3 teams. After 7 events, $30 million will be distributed to the top 3 players from the season. Then, the team championship finale will have a $50 million prize. So, reeling off some of the events, they're in England, June 9th to 11th. Pumpkin Ridge in Oregon, July. The end of July, Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. The International in Boston, Massachusetts in September. September 16th, they go to Rich Harvest Farms in Chicago. October, they move to Thailand, then to Saudi Arabia, and then the team championship Yet to be determined where that's going to be. So that's kind of a feel for the schedule. I was going through the schedule a little bit. It looks like they're kind of focusing on having those weeks on the weeks that like the PGA Tour kind of has maybe their lower tier events, like John Deere-ish type events. I don't know. I don't know. What are your thoughts here? I mean, it's real now.
Yeah. I mean, it's real, I guess. But I mean, the one thing we don't know, like we have no clue who's playing. You know, we don't have a roster. We don't know who these players are. We don't know what the teams are. You know, are they four-man teams throughout the whole year? Are they just randomly picked every tournament? I mean, there's so many things. And here's my main thing. You're able to pay out all this big money, but if you don't have the biggest names in golf, like if you don't have the DJs, the Rorys, the Rahms, the biggest names, what are the views? What are the viewers going to be? The views going to be like when you're watching, mid-level guys. It's not going to be able to sustain, I don't think. So that's the big question I have. I mean, like you said, we've got a schedule, but we don't know who's playing yet.
I feel like you're leaving out the biggest question mark here, though.
Is Tiger playing?
No. Who are the players? Who is playing? And I'm kidding. I know you brought it up, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, this is all great, but like you said, you can't have guys that are ranked 1,000 in the official world golf rankings expecting them to carry. Like you have to have at least 2 or 3 top 10 players, and it seems like, at least from my perspective and what everyone said, basically all the top 10 guys have said they're not playing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, are people gonna commit to the PGA Tour, then see the money, then be like, oh, it's real, and then they're gonna hop on board, like do the back and forth thing? I don't know. It doesn't seem that way. I mean, everyone seemed pretty convinced that they were not going to play.
Well,
but
here's
this is a lot of money. This is a lot of money. Okay, it's a lot of money.
And that's the thing. Okay, so here to just play. Do you think LeBron James would leave the NBA to go to another league if he gets paid 4 times what he's going to pay? Say he makes $120 million a year, but there's no NBA Finals. There's no NBA Finals MVP. There's no there's a separate championship to be won that means, in a sense, nothing at the moment. Do you give up, like for golfers, do you give up all those majors? Like if you can't do both, if you have to pick one or the other, do you give up winning PGA championships, Players championships, U.S. Opens? Do you give that stuff up? And I don't know. That's tough, man, because that's when those guys were kids. They started playing golf, and they were out on the range, or they were playing, the little, Muni course near them, and they were hitting shots into the green saying, like, oh, man, this is for, a U.S. Open win, and, making putts. And now you don't have that? I don't know. It's a lot of money. I agree, but, man, there's no legacy right now with it.
That's exactly what Jay Monahan said in his press conference. And yeah. I think he came across as, like, a little cold-hearted and straightforward, but it's like, it's true. PGA Tour has the legacy.
Do you play in Major League Baseball?
So many years of legacy.
World Series.
And I have two comments for it. We don't know yet if you choose this league that you won't be able to play in the majors. We don't know that for certain.
True.
Also, to your point, if LeBron James was playing in the LIV Golf International Series, I would be more likely to watch. Let's just put it that
way. That's a good point.
That would seriously be entertaining if you finally got a tour where it's like you let a 12 handicap go out there and kind of see how they play in relation to pros. I think that would be a nice little hook for them. I think the PGA Tour should do that. I think the Masters should do it. Like, someone needs to do it because there's so many debates over what would a 12 handicap shoot out here? What would a 20 handicap? What would a 2 handicap shoot? Like, let's throw them in there.
Yeah.
Let's let someone play like a full schedule and see how they do.
And it's not the full schedule, but I'd say each tournament, and you don't even have to make it like part of the live broadcast. Like, you don't have to, because some people don't care.
I think you should.
either you could, let's hop over to Tursky as he's dropping 4 from the water right now and, trying to still make the green. But I think you're right.
Tursky just took out someone's shin right off the tee box. He completely shanked one.
But imagine the streaming that you could do with that. Like how awesome that would be, that if you wanted to, you just pop on your computer, hit play, and you could watch a foursome of a scratch player, a 10 handicap, of whatever, like 4 players, and they're out there just battling this course, getting destroyed.
That's what I'm saying.
Out there.
Like I want to see
awesome.
8 handicap shoot 112 as he's playing with, even if it's like, a mid-tier guy. I don't want to call anyone out for being mid-tier, but even if they're playing alongside, like someone who's ranked 175, if it's a 12 handicap, I'm probably going to watch. Like, it doesn't have to even be a top 10 guy, but they need like a hook. They need something. If you're not going to get world number 1, 4, and 7 to go over there and play, you need a really captivating hook for people to watch. I think people will watch like the first couple events anyway, just to make fun of it on Twitter and like, give their 2 cents and just to see what's going on, like see what kind of drama it provides. But I think long term, in terms of like longevity for this LIV Golf series, they either need something. They need something crazy. You either need to like be able to play defense on your competitor or something, or like some kind of rule where you could block putts, or they need top 10 guys, because the money is not enough for us to care.
No. Or Greg Norman picks up the old telephone and says, "Hi, Anthony Kim. Yes, this is Greg Norman. We'd love for you to come play some golf."
Anthony Kim plays, we're watching.
I mean,
and I'm tuning in every week. If they get Anthony Kim, that's a promise. I will be tuned in every single week.
But you're right.
There's a couple names. They need like all those type names. They need like Ty Tryon. They need Anthony Kim. I think Greg Norman should play himself. Like,
yeah, they
need
do
stuff. They need stuff going on.
Yeah, but you're right. They need a hook. They need something that's different, because if it's just the same golf that the PGA Tour offers, and the PGA Tour has way better players in a sense, you're like you said, you'll watch a tournament or two, okay, cool, and then you'll forget about it.
Right, and the courses are cool. Don't get me wrong, but I think the PGA Tour schedule and all their locations are more intriguing. It's not like, they have Pine Valley, Cypress, like all the exclusive clubs that we don't get to see on TV,
That'd be
like
awesome.
that would be another hook that would be great. Like if you got courses that no one's ever seen on TV really, but it doesn't look like that's what we're getting. It kind of looks like they're responding to people calling their bluff, being like, "Yo, it's not real," and they're like, "Yeah, well, here's a schedule and here's prize money." It's like, yeah, but who's playing though?
Yeah,
and what's going on? Like, you kind of haven't really cleared anything up yet. And I know Greg Norman's doing his media run, talking to like all sorts of outlets, kind of explaining what's going on. But I don't know. I don't have the clarity that I think most fans are looking for. So
yeah, I
it's
agree.
kind of a still wait and see situation. Like, that's great. You guys have a schedule and you've like confirmed with pro shops that they'll hold the event. But I mean, what are we all talking about here? We don't know yet. So
no.
Unfortunately, this will probably be a running topic on this show.
Much like Adam Scott's What's in the Bag.
Yeah, yeah. No Adam Scott news this week. Yeah. Okay, so let's transition off that. Let's get back into the PGA Tour. I was at the Valspar this week. Innisbrook. God, that course looks hard.
Yeah.
Just standing on some of these tee boxes is like, I don't understand where you hit it. Then if you get any sort of wind or weather, I don't know. It looks more intimidating off the tee and just around the greens to me than even TPC Sawgrass, and they kind of got chewed up out there. Congrats to Cam Smith, by the way.
Yeah.
That is our interview this week. So if you're interested in hearing, if you're interested in hearing from Cam Smith, the guy who basically birthed Jet Black finish for Vokey Wedges.
He did.
We get into that. We grill him about gear later. Congrats to him for the big prize money, getting that done. Team Mullet.
Yep. Team Mullet. Yeah. I did even ask him about. I was like, "Yo, you never wear a watch when you win, and your boy here gets left, with nothing." And he was like,
"You're a big watch guy."
Yeah. And he's like, "Yeah, I got a watch." He's like, "I just don't wear it at the tournament." And I was like, okay. I was like, can you tell me what it is? So, I make him tell me at the end of the interview, which is pretty funny. But
okay, cool.
He was a good dude.
Well, hang on to the end of the show. We got about 12 minutes with Cam Smith, led by Knudsen himself. I was unfortunately in the air on a flight.
Yep.
A little 5-hour flight back from Tampa last night, but neither here nor there. Valspar is a sneaky strong field.
Yeah.
Dustin, Colin, JT, Xander, all the boys are there.
That's some heavy hitters. I was kind of going through a few what's in the bags that yourself and Greg uploaded from there, and there's definitely some big names, and there's also some guys that you probably haven't heard of in a while. There's a handful of guys that have some pretty cool what's in the bag, some new stuff, some stuff you'd expect. It's a little bit of everything this week.
So, okay. So he's not the top player in the field, but he did just get announced as the 2023 European Ryder Cup captain, Henrik Stenson.
My boy.
Now, Henrik Stenson...
He doesn't know that, but...
No, he doesn't. Henrik Stenson has one of the most interesting golf bags in golf to me.
Yeah.
Basically due to the Legacy Black Callaway irons. Everyone at Golf WRX loves Henrik Stenson because he still has the Legacy Black irons in play. Now, I've talked to Henrik on a couple different occasions, like when he's made some big changes, or mainly talking to him about the Diablo Octane fairway wood. Like when that comes out of the bag, I ask him why and what he switched to. But I've never gone in depth with him about these Legacy Black irons. That changed this week, Brian.
Really? So
spoke with Stenson for about 4 minutes, just about the Legacy Black irons. Now, would you like me to paraphrase, or should I just read his quotes? I feel like I just want to.
I'm just going to let everybody know. Yeah, I mean, if you just want to read, because let's, in case people don't know, my two favorite players on tour are Henrik Stenson and Adam Scott. Like, those are just, I've loved them since the early 2000s. When Adam Scott was wearing Burberry pants, as we've talked about numerous times, and I've loved Stenson ever since I ever heard about him.
We've talked a lot about Adam Scott's pants on the show.
Yeah, we too much, really. So I'm super interested in this because I am a huge Stenson fan, and I want a little insight on these irons. The Iceman. Okay,
so if you want my full story, it's over on PGAtour.com in the equipment report. So just a little background on the irons before we let Stenson speak. He'll be speaking through me. I'm not going to try to do a Swedish accent. So the Legacy Black irons that Stenson plays, a third-generation release in Callaway's Legacy lineup. They had a little series before of Legacy that came out in 2008 and then 2010, and they kind of refined the shape up. They made a tour version that better players such as Henrik Stenson would like. Those came out in 2013. So they were kind of designed by Roger Cleveland. He teamed up with Callaway Japan. They're endo-forged from S20 carbon, satin finish, thin top lines, thin soles, reduced offset, tall toe sections, 19 grooves on the face. They also have a lot of grooves. A little back section in the back cavity, which is a vibration dampening rubber. It's not just black for the look, although it does look cool. Got to give it that.
It does.
And there's a little undercut behind the bottom of the face to kind of, boost ball speed on off-center hits, get the launch up a little bit. So basically, they're players' irons. Reduced offset, thin top lines. They look good, nice compact, but they're built for some forgiveness. So they're that nice tweener iron that, really the golf industry in general has kind of moved closer and closer to in the last 5 years. Everyone's kind of looking for that little tweener. People are like, all right, maybe we shouldn't be playing pure blades. Maybe we need a little forgiveness thrown in. So a lot of people are kind of going that way. But the Legacy Black irons were unique because not released in North America. If you live in the U.S.,
Nope.
you probably didn't get your hands on one of these unless you shipped it in from the Asian market. I think some places in Europe had them, in Australia as well.
Yep.
So they're unique. They were tough to get your hands on, but Stenson's been playing them since 2013. How has he got his hands on so many sets? How many does he have left? Why did he start playing them? How long does he continue to play them? These are the questions that I had. And finally I was able to ask Stenson. So I think what I'm going to do, I guess, is just read the Q&A real quick.
I like it.
Is that fair? We can't play the full audio, unfortunately, but we can still read it.
Like I said, I'm on the edge of my seat, to be honest.
All right. So just to set the scene real quick, I knew I wanted to ask Stenson about these irons. And the last couple weeks, I haven't seen him. He's been evading me. It's like once I got this idea in my head that I wanted to really dive deep with him on these irons, nowhere to be seen. Can't find Stenson.
He knew. Yeah, he knew.
He knew I was coming for him. So I get there on Wednesday in Innisbrook, and I see him walking around the putting green. I'm like, yes. There's the target. We got him. And I honestly think he knew I was about to ask him, because he went around to everyone on that putting green and started having conversations with him. I think it was probably because he just got announced as Ryder Cup captain. Maybe he's doing recruiting. Maybe people are congratulating him, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm waiting on. I'm just staring him down for an hour. I'm just watching him have all these conversations, just waiting for him. Bro, are you going to get off the putting green yet so I can come over? So he finally walks over. It looks like he's about to go to the range. He kind of has his fast walk going. And I'm just like, Henrik, hey. I need you for a second here. I'm Andrew Tursky with Golf WRX, blah, blah, blah. We got to have a talk. We got to have a talk real quick. He agrees. He likes Golf WRX. He likes equipment, so he's down.
Really?
So here's the Q&A.
Love it.
I start with, you still have Callaway Legacy Black irons in the bag after all these years. When did you start using the irons, and what do you like about them? He said, that's a good question. Thank you, Henrik. Appreciate that. He said, I came off the U.S. Open in 2013, and I was hitting too many flyers at Marion. Yeah, he was catching a lot of flyers at Marion. So his caddy, Garrett Lord, at the time, he walks into Callaway. I assume he meant the Callaway tour truck, but I wasn't sure if he meant the headquarters or the tour truck. He said he walks into Callaway and asks them to give us some options that don't fly too much out of the rough. Then the boys in Europe built up the Legacy Black, which had, just released basically. They just became an option in 2013 at the time. He said when the irons showed up, they felt great and looked good, and I didn't hit too many flyers with them. So it seemed pretty simple as that. He was really trying to get over this flyer problem. And he said they've been in the bag ever since. So I asked him, they obviously don't make the irons anymore, so where exactly do you keep getting sets from? Do you buy them online, eBay? Does Callaway have a backup stash for you? He said they still have 1 or 2 sets for me, I think. I have a bunch of used ones at home. I came to the conclusion that I was a little bit stupid because I kept the same warm-up routine where I was hitting a pitching wedge, an 8-iron, and then a 4-iron. So on all my sets, the 4, 8, and wedge are a bit worn, and the other ones are fresh. I tend to go through about a set a year.
Ooh.
So he's just wearing the center out on the 4, 8, and pitching wedge. So he says I have 7, 8, maybe 9 sets laying around, but there's a lot of worn out 4s, 8s, and wedges. I can always scramble and use a backup set, if his current set, if something happens, he can go to one of the used backup sets. But he has a couple sets in reserve. He says, we'll see if I run out of the new sets or if I need to get another model eventually. So we might see a Legacy Black switch if Stenson runs out. So I said, have you ever considered switching? Have you tested other irons throughout the years? He said, occasionally, yeah. Callaway comes out with some good-looking irons every year. It's just been, I guess I'm a little old school, is what he said. I know what works for me, and I like the look of them. we don't really have much of an off season. It's not like we have 2 or 3 months at home to test new stuff. That's one thing in the bag where it's like, okay, that definitely stays. When they come out with new wedges, we put them in or test them, and even new fairway woods, we'll test them. He's like, as you know, I've had the Callaway Diablo Octane 3-wood for many, many years. But now we have a slightly different one in the bag, so he just got rid of the Octane again. He went back.
Really?
He went back to the went back to the Callaway Maverick Sub-Zero, 13.5 degrees.
Ugh.
But he said it's just one of those things where if it's not broken, I'm not going to try to fix it. So I was like, so you just have a ton of used sets of Legacy Black irons like sitting in your garage right now? Like where do you keep them at?
Yeah.
He was like, we have a few. There's a couple in Sweden and a few more in Orlando. A couple of them are new, so he does still have like a couple new sets. And there's 1 or 2 at the Callaway headquarters. He says Callaway probably sets their routes so no one else will take the sets. I think the model was only sold in 2013, and it was limited to certain markets. I think it was Germany, Australia, and Japan, he said. It was a limited version, but I'm happy they kept a few for me, and we'll see what happens down the road. And then I was like, wait a second, you switched out the Diablo Octane? He was like, yep, that one's sidelined for right now. I've got a Maverick I've used for a year and a half. He's like, obviously I've been going back and forth a little bit, but that's my old trusty for many, many years. It's done me a lot of good.
Wow.
So there you go. Stenson finally speaks in the Legacy Black. I thought it was just so cool because his, like, you can't pick it up, obviously, when I'm just reading it, but, like, his eyes lit up when I asked about it. When he was like, that was, at first he was like, that's a good question. And you could see his just, like, gear brain turn on, and he got all excited about the irons. Like, he just loves the Legacy Black. And I've held them in my hands a couple times and looked at them from address, and you could just see why. They just look like, what you want an iron to look like. You know, There's nothing crazy about them. They do have, like, a slightly higher toe section that's a little bit angular, but, like, I like that shape. It kind of reminds me of the X Ford shape, actually. Not too much offset, just a good-looking iron, and obviously Stenson knows what they do. Like, he doesn't want flyers. He doesn't want hot spots. He doesn't want weird things happening in the ball flight. He just wants to hit the number that he knows the ball goes. And these irons have been able to do that for him. And like he said, I mean, he's tried out new irons, but he knows what he wants.
Yeah, I remember first seeing him on Golf WRX, and people were talking about what are these Legacy irons back in 2012, 13. And everybody wondered, are these coming to the U.S., whatever, because they had a Legacy before this one, before Stenson's, that looked like the Diablo Forged, but it was just called the Legacy and had like a purple badge, I think, and purple and gold instead of red. And we ended up getting that iron here, but we never got a version of these. And they do. I mean, they have that look of. I mean, like you said, it's a Callaway looking iron. The toe's a little higher, a little sharper, but it is. It's just that really good set that I think would have done really well here too. Like I think if they would have brought these out in the U.S., they would have sold really well because they're an iron that a guy like me or whatever, that 10 handicap or whatever, you can play these. They got enough forgiveness, but they look like a player's club. Like you don't feel like you're not playing a player's club. And it's pretty interesting that he's got a couple new sets laying around. So it sounds like if he goes through a set a year, he's got maybe 3 to 4 sets there. So we're looking at 2025, 2026. He may be having to move into whatever a new set of irons. But yeah, they're just really cool. I remember going on the buy-sell trade area on Golf WRX, and every once in a while a set would pop up, and a year or two after they were out, and they would still go for like $700-800 used, whatever. I mean, they still demanded a ton of money because you just couldn't get them. And I always wanted a set, and I know a guy who has a set. He said they feel amazing. Said they're just really great irons. He still says he takes them out every once in a while and plays around with them, but they're pretty cool, man, and that's pretty awesome that he loves them so much.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is Henrik Stenson a Hall of Famer? If he retires tomorrow, is he a Hall of Famer?
Boy, that's tough, man.
So he's got 6 PGA Tour wins.
I just don't think he is.
11 European Tour wins. He won the race to Dubai in 2013. He won
the Open.
He won the Open Championship 2016, and he won the FedEx Cup playoffs 2013.
Yeah, he did the FedEx Cup and Race to Dubai in the same year. It was like 22 mil.
And he's going to be a European Ryder Cup team captain 2023. Is that a Hall of Fame career?
I just don't think so. I love the guy, and I think he's my favorite player. I mean, let's put it this way, he probably will get in just now. I mean, if you're a Ryder Cup captain, and say he wins, all that, he might get in. I don't think there's enough there to get. But I mean, I guess so. 17 wins.
But it's
in a major.
World Golf Hall of Fame. It's not. If it was like PGA Tour Hall of Fame, I think the answer is obviously no, because he only has 6 wins. But he does have 17 worldwide wins, and I think he has like some Asian Tour, and he has some other wins sprinkled in too, like 3 or 4.
And it would be interesting to see how many guys have worldwide wins. More than 20. It's probably not a ton. Man, I think he's borderline. I think he probably will get in, but I don't. Man, I don't know. If I was on the committee, I'd have a really tough time voting him in.
He's like right on that bubble, I know. But I was just the reason I ask is because I was thinking like, each person that gets inducted, they get their own little spot in the Hall of Fame where you put like some merchandise, bags, clubs, whatever. It's like his would be so cool. You get one of his used 8 irons in there where you could see the center of the face is just worn out on the Legacy Black. Then you get the Callaway Diablo Octane. Like he has some of the most famous clubs in golf.
The sunglasses. We got to get the sunglasses on there.
Absolutely, the sunglasses. You're right. Obviously, the blue shaft and the Diablo Octane. Maybe just have the shaft even separate from the head or something like that. But yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Blue,
because I was like, his section could be pretty cool if he got inducted. But I was like, I don't know. He's really right on that edge. He's like Mr. Bubble Boy.
I think so too. And I mean, granted that Open Championship that he won was probably one of the most entertaining ever. Him and Phil just going nuts.
Yep,
I mean, they both shot like
battle.
62, 63. I mean,
they're like 20 strokes ahead.
So fun to watch
of everyone else. But yeah, that was a heavyweight boxing match there,
dude. But yeah, he's definitely right on the ball. I think he'll get in now because he's the Ryder Cup captain. I think that may be the final thing that gets him in. But man, I bet he's close. Bet he's real close.
I don't have a cool transition, but let's just get into the next topic. Well, I guess we're staying on Callaway. Callaway irons. Okay. Yeah, we're staying on Callaway irons. So there's a little transition for you. Sam Burns,
all right.
defending champion at the Valspar. He won 2021 Valspar. He also won later in the year. Back in October, he won the Sanderson Farms last year as well. So I was going through his bag last year. Uniquely, he has a 46-degree, or he had a 46-degree Jaws Mac Daddy 5. So basically, in place of his pitching wedge, whereas he plays Apex TCBs. I think most professional golfers and even amateurs, they go with like the pitching wedge that's part of their set. So he was using a 46-degree wedge, like a traditional wedge. And then for his gap wedge, obviously he matched his 46-degree Jaws Mac Daddy 5 wedge, traditional wedge. This year, he has Apex TCB pitching wedge and also the attack wedge. So he changed out 2 traditional-looking wedges for 2 Apex TCB irons. I guess they're wedges because it's pitching wedge and attack wedge. So I was like, that's interesting. That's intriguing because it reminds me of Dylan Fratelli, who switched to an iron that's a sand wedge, and he also plays the attack wedge. And it's like, what's going on here?
I was about to say the same thing.
So I asked Sam Burns himself. I also asked Dean Teckel, the guy who works, the Callaway fitter who works with Sam Burns closely. So basically last year, in the off season, Sam Burns and his coach, Brad Pullen, I believe is his name, are kind of looking at his stats and realize that he's not performing too well. 100 to 125, 125 to 150. What's going on? So they request some different options. Hit up Dean. Dean, we need something here. You know, it's not going great from this yardage. And so he's like, I think Apex TCB, like if you change out the gap wedge and pitching wedge, it might be a more forgiving option. They sent it to him. Burns put it through TrackMan Combine with his coach. Realized the Apex TCB irons are just simply way more forgiving than Jaws MD5. Obviously, because like wedges are basically blades. You know, I don't think we realize that. Like they're not made for forgiveness, really. Like they're made for versatility and they're made for spin and control. But a lot of people use, especially pitching wedges, gap wedges, and even sand wedges, people mostly use those clubs like from the fairway on full shots. Like maybe we shouldn't be so focused on how we use a wedge like we use the lob wedge, you know, from the bunker and flop shots and low and high and like all these different little nitpicky shots. Like we're mostly hitting full shots. And that's basically what Sam Burns came to the conclusion of. So he switches them out because they're simply more forgiving. He's getting better distance control more consistently on shots from 100 to 150, and the stats show it. I was looking up the stats. Let me just grab them real quick so I don't misspeak here.
I was just casually looking at some stats, just going through some numbers in my calculator.
It wasn't casual. I was grinding away on these stats. Okay, so in 2021, Burns ranked 25th on the PGA Tour from 100 to 125.
That's too bad. I mean,
no, it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. He shoots up to 115th from 125 to 150. 23 feet 6 inches. Now, in 21-22 so far, he ranks 9th from 100 to 125, and he's down to 47th, 125 to 150. So he went from 25th down to 9th, 100 to 125, and then 115th down to 47th, 125 to 150. Presumably without making any improvement. He hasn't made any like significant swing changes, so I think what we're saying is that we're giving credit to the club change and to putting in more forgiving options so that, his distance control is better. I think from the rough and the fairway, and he's saying he's still able to flight shots. Like, they're not going too high. It's basically just better distance control, which bears the question, are all of us idiots for playing traditional wedges instead of, like, the irons that go with the set, as many as they make? If it only goes down to pitching wedge, great. But if there's a gap wedge available or even a sand wedge, like, maybe we should all be looking at that option. Because it seems pros are going that way. From what I gather, it's kind of like a new wave.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. I mean, you really are. I mean, you think about it, because that's kind of what Fertilli said, too. Dylan said, was that when he got that sand wedge made, the TCB sand wedge, the $4,000 sand wedge, then the same thing, that he was still able to hit the shots he needed to hit and wanted to hit, but when he did miss it a little bit and caught it a little on the toe, whatever, he was getting better distance and better dispersion out of it. And I think we all get hung up in, because, so many of these wedge companies now offer a billion different grinds and, crazy grooves and all this stuff, and we get kind of blinded by that. And, especially for like an attack or a gap wedge, which you probably hit majority full shots with, matching your iron set probably isn't a bad thing. I mean, I'm thinking about it now because I took my pitching wedge out and put in like a sand wedge style pitching wedge because I like chipping with it. And now after seeing, like, especially after the sand wedge, I was kind of like, oh man, should I put the matching pitching wedge back in the bag? Like, it does make sense. I mean, irons are, like you said, they're more forgiving, and the other thing too is, like, he's probably used to certain the way, say, the 9-iron pitching wedge, the way they're flighted, the way they spin. He's probably used to that on full shots. You get to the gap wedge, and all of a sudden it's a totally different wedge. And it may spin different, it may do whatever. And if you're hitting a lot of full shots with that, adding the matching attack wedge probably actually makes it easier. You just make the same swing. You know exactly what it's going to do. It's going to do the same thing it does with the pitching wedge and the 9-iron. So I think it makes total sense. But, you know, the stat, I think, is slightly skewed as well. Because if you're bad at something, you know he was working on it. And you know he was working on it heavy. So not only did he get a new club, but you know he put some work in on some of those shots.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Very fair point there, Knudsen. But he also mentioned, I'm just looking at the quotes he said now. He also likes the turf interaction better. Like, it's not digging as much because he was using like a low bounce gap wedge option, and there's a little bit higher bounce on the TCVs. And what else did he say here?
I wonder if the sole's a little wider on it too.
It is a little bit wider. I was talking to Dean about that. It's just slightly wider than the wedge option, and like you said, he mentioned the transition is a little bit better. Just going from irons down to wedges, it's just a smoother transition, and it's just more reliable, like you said. I mean, you go from a 9-iron down to a wedge. It's like even a mental thing, looking down at a wedge instead of an iron. It just kind of changes the mentality, and you're just not getting the benefit of perimeter weighting with a wedge. Like, it's kind of just science at that point. Like, the ball's going to come off a little bit faster off the heel and toe on an iron with perimeter weighting versus a blade where you're kind of going to lose distance. Like, say you hit it high toe off a wedge, you're going to lose a lot of distance on that.
Yeah. No, I mean, it definitely makes sense, and it makes me kind of like not rethink my whole bag, but it does make me think about my bag and be like, what am I kind of doing here? You know, like,
it has me questioning everything.
Should I?
It has me questioning my whole life. It's like, why are we using wedges? It's just like, because that's what we've always done, because that's what Tiger did, because that's what we've been told. And it's like there's no necessarily real benefit. It's almost, making us worse. So I do know that everyone's probably excited. I do know that everyone's probably excited for the Cam Smith interview. Everyone's probably already fast forward. So just a couple more topics here, and then we'll wrap it up, I promise. Maurice Allen.
Oh, yeah. Long drive.
World long drive competitor. Yep. Have you seen his bag from the Valspar? I think he played in the Pro-Am.
I did. And it is insanity.
If you want to see the photos, head over to golfwrx.com/forums. It's in the tour pre-release section, or you can just Google Maurice Allen, what's in the bag 2022 to check out what we're talking about. These irons and wedges are absurd.
Woo. They're wild. And I don't remember. I'm trying to remember. They're probably not what I'm thinking. Like, I remember I went to one of the PGA shows. It might have been like my first one, and there was this Japanese company that had irons. And these things, I mean, they look like they've been beat with a hammer. They have just like a ton of little like scoops out of them. And I remember one of the companies had woods and irons that to get the swing rate right, they would just take it on a grinder and just. Bzz, bzz,
I think that's what they did.
Just little sections.
I think that's what they did.
Yeah, because they'd be raw heads, and then they would just like zip little bits of the metal off until they got them to the right head weight that they wanted. And like everything was custom, no two were the same, and his are all copper, which I don't know if they're 100% copper or just copper plated, but either way they look absolutely sick.
Unfortunately, I don't know how to pronounce the name of the company.
I know.
It's Itobori. My guess is Itobori, but I'm not sure. I'm just guessing. But they kind of remind me of what I would imagine the surface of Mars to look like.
Just craters everywhere.
Just craters everywhere. They do have that little rainbow effect on them. I think that's some sort of heat treatment on there. But kind of hard to describe. Just beautifully different, cool. Like, I don't know if they're beneficial or what exactly is going on with these irons. And so we don't want to speculate too much about these irons. What we're going to do is talk to Maurice Allen himself. So we've reached out. I believe that he's agreed to come on the podcast. I don't know if it's going to be next week, 2 weeks from now, 10 weeks from now. I don't know what the World Long Drive schedule is like. I don't know what his schedule is like, our schedule is like. But we will be talking to Maurice Allen about these irons and wedges. I highly suggest going over and checking these out for yourself, though. You got to see the photos of these irons. I would
they're wild.
Love to get my hands on one to test.
Oh, I know. And then he's got I love he's got these like crazy wild irons. He's got the matching wedges, and then he's got a ping crossover utility iron. for like a 2-iron.
All that craziness, and then throws in the crossover 2-iron.
2-iron. But yeah, he's got the crazy ferrules on them. The ferrules look like they're like black and silver with like red stars or something.
Yeah, they got red stars all over them.
Fully kitted.
My God.
Yeah, like he went all out. I mean, he's a flashy guy. Like he wears a lot of the super bright pink and all that. When
you hit the ball 410,
I hope you can talk to him because
you hit the ball 410. You can wear whatever color. Listen, have whatever you want in the bag. Just hit that driver 410 and we're good.
Well, and here's the other thing I want to, and hopefully he will come on the show, because here's what I want to know too. Is
he will come on the show. That's a promise.
If you don't know anything about him, if you just it was just in a blank staff bag, you didn't know who he was, whatever, and these irons were in here, like he's got a 50-degree gap wedge, probably got a 54, 56, and then like a 60. Like they don't, like he doesn't have some wild thing. Like this looks like just a bag of somebody who loves crazy irons. But I want to know, like, are his lofts like crazy weird because he swings so hard and hits it so far? Like, does he have wild, strong, or weak lofts or whatever? Like, yeah, I kind of want to get the lowdown on these irons because, they look amazing, but I wonder if they have to be like crazy tweaked to deal with his, his type of power and swing speed.
Well, we've officially teased a podcast interview that does not exist yet, but it's in the works.
Yes, we're really putting ourselves on the line.
I know, it's coming. Now, let's get to an interview that for sure does exist. It absolutely exists. Knutson, you talked to Cam Smith. We grilled him about his gear. No further ado, let's get right into it.
All right.
Hey, Cam, how you doing?
Good, mate. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm hanging in there. Probably not doing as well as you. You got to be still on cloud 9 from winning the Players. It was crazy, exciting, wild weather. How are you feeling after being, the latest Players champion?
Pretty tired, mate, to be honest. It was a really long week. It was a stressful week. Obviously being up there at the top of the leaderboard the whole week and then having endless delays really takes it out of you. So, ready for some sleep.
I bet. Well, yeah, man, here at Golf WRX, we are equipment junkies, and, going through your kind of what's in the bag from this week, the first question I got to ask you is, everything you play in the bag, irons, wedges, putter, all that, all blacked out. I heard a story that with, like, the jet black wedges, you were kind of one of the main influences to Bob Vokey about getting that done. How did that come about? Like, is there any story there of how those came about or how you got him to go the all black route?
I can't remember the conversation exactly, but I'm a big car guy as well, and I think at the time I was just really into all black cars, and I just thought that it would be really cool to have, a black head with black shaft and obviously a black grip. Just kind of all murdered out, and it kind of all came together, and they look so cool. I love them.
Yeah, I do have to say the jet black with all the black everything. Even the retail heads. They look phenomenal. And then I've also heard you kind of carry around. You're not a huge equipment change guy. Like you don't change stuff up all the time. Like when you find something that works, you pretty much find something that works, right?
Yeah, exactly. Titleist is so good in the fact that they bring out equipment every couple of years and they go back and test it and try and make it better. And, so I basically change equipment when the new stuff comes out. That's it.
and you seem to adopt the new equipment pretty quickly too. I mean, you're not a guy that seems like you hang on to some old clubs that you feel comfortable with. I mean, when Titleist brings out a new club, you pretty quickly put it in the bag. Other than your 7-wood, which you've got in there, which is the previous gen TS2. What about that 7-wood is just kind of comfortable for you and it stayed in the bag?
I just feel really comfortable with it. I love the way it looks, obviously. I feel like I can hit it basically any distance. I can hit it out of the rough. It's a great rough club. And I don't hit the fairways that often, so it's good for hacking out to the front of the green most times. And, just something I feel really comfortable with. I feel like I can hit it anywhere from 200 meters all the way to probably 240 meters with a different shape. So very versatile, but just feel really comfortable.
And that's kind of become kind of a bigger topic on tour. It seems like we're seeing more and more tour level players, guys on the PGA Tour, Korn Ferry, whatever, putting more fairway woods in the bag. I mean, it's one of those things you see more 5-woods, 7-woods, things like that. Is it something where they're just providing a different performance attribute that an iron or hybrid doesn't give you?
I think perhaps maybe the launch you get out of it, I can hit that 7-wood so high that on a big long par 5 into a firm green, something that's coming down, landing pretty soft, is obviously really good. But I also think that those 7-woods perform so well out of the rough. When you get at places like Torrey Pines and even last week where the rough was really thick, you can still get in there with that 7-wood and try and advance it to the front of the green.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, landing soft is huge on tour just because how firm everything is. And then going to your putter, which is absolutely sick. The all black, the little slant neck. It's got all the all the stampings in it. How much input do you have on say your putter, in terms of the stampings and things like that, or do you just kind of say hey, you guys do your magic and show me what you got?
Yeah, typically I would have a pretty big say in what goes on the putter, but when we were doing that one, I said to Drew, just chuck whatever you guys think is cool on there. I want the stamping to be in maroon and the head to be black, and come back looking like that. For some reason I thought that neck and that head wasn't going to be a good combo. And I didn't think I was really going to use it that much, but I've fallen in love with it. So I'll be using it for a long time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those things. I mean, the 009 head shape, I mean, especially with our audience, is just insane. Everybody, would love to get their hands on it. But yeah, I think it does work well. And I'm not a big slant neck guy, and I think it really does work well in that head. But it's interesting too. You have no sight line, just a straight sight dot. What do you like about the sight dot as opposed to lines on the putter head?
It's funny. Growing up and actually, the start of my professional career as well, I used a line. I went through everything: blade putters, mallet putters, all with a line, and I was just finding myself hitting bad putts. That were just the wrong pace. So I thought that I'd give a dot a try, and I just found myself feeling the putts, and the pace of my putts all of a sudden got a lot better. So I've stuck with it now for probably 5 or 6 years.
That's pretty interesting. That the pace, because I mean, a lot of people I think you associate alignment with it, but it's interesting to hear that pace was the big factor at changing that for you. And then I guess, like you said, you're not a big equipment guy who changes a ton, but you do carry around a couple different wedges, right, for different turf conditions and things like that. Is that like a game time decision? Like you get to the course, you get to the short game area, hit some shots, and then you decide what wedges go in the bag?
Yeah, pretty much. I just travel with 360s, all different grinds and bounces. We'll go out to the chipping area, out in the course, hit some shots. And just really decide. Something that Aaron and I spoke about a while ago now, and I've been traveling with those 3 wedges now for forever, it seems like. So, yeah, he does a pretty good job.
Yeah, I do to say, Aaron is a master. I wish I had like a tenth of the skill that he has to eye up wedges, because it's crazy. Yeah, and I guess, like, I mean, like I said, is there any changes you're thinking about equipment wise? I mean, is there anything going into, you know, the rest of the season where there's anything you might change, or are you pretty much? I mean, after a big win, you're probably pretty set. But are you pretty set, or you think there may be any changes going forward this year?
I think we're good. I don't think I'm going to change anything up for the rest of the season. I know at the end of last season, we changed up the shafts in the driver and the 3-wood. Yeah, but that's been about it, to be honest. I've moved into the new head. I've used the same iron shafts basically my whole career, and yeah, I'm not a big change guy.
Well,
Brian, we go with one more, please.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, after you win, I mean, it's hard to argue. So my last one, which is actually not equipment based at all, but for this site, I actually am the guy who I'm a big watch fan, and I write, you know, an article basically covering what watch the guy who wins is wearing. And I'm always bummed because you don't seem to ever wear a watch. Are you just not a watch guy, or is it just something you just don't think about after a tournament?
Yeah, I do wear a watch, you know, basically every day, but when I'm out at the golf course, I don't wear it. It's typically in my golf bag or in my locker. I'll put it on when I head home, but yeah, when I'm at the golf course, it comes off for a few hours either side.
And, any way you can tell me what you wear usually?
Yeah, I'm wearing an Amiga at the moment. It's a Seamaster.
Nice. Yeah, the Omega stuff is super underrated right now. I really like a ton of the Speedmaster stuff as well.
Yeah, it's nice. I've only got 2, so they're both Amigas actually. So yeah, I love them.
Now, maybe one can be added to the list as to celebrate the occasion of winning. You could add another one to the collection.
Yeah, maybe.
But,
maybe.